About a year ago, I made a huge decision in my life. I got married to that man right there that you see on the screen. And through that marriage, I have learned a lot of things about myself and made me think back to my life, my 22 years of life. And I came to realize that I am an immigrant. I mean, I knew that because when people ask me, where are you from? When they detect my accent sometimes or my skin tone, they ask, where are you from? And I would say, El Salvador. And then I realized that I was an immigrant. So what does that mean? That is someone who leaves their native, where they were born, country, and they immigrate to another country. My family and I immigrated here when I was 9 years old. And when I was in 8th grade, my volleyball team, some of the girls wanted to surprise me on my birthday. And so they brought me a Dora balloon that sang Spanish, happy birthday, for like ever. So, you know, in middle school, you can't go home and come back because you don't drive. So I had to carry it on my backpack. Along with that, they baked me a Mud Hut chocolate cake. At that point, I was like, I'm not sure whether to be like happy because they remember my birthday, or whether to be offended, or whether to figure out what they were trying to tell me by building a mud hut to remind me of home. My parents are college graduates. They worked really hard to get their degrees and to realize that the people here picture my home as a mud hut. There's nothing wrong with living in a mud hut, but there's also a lot of meaning behind that. I did not live in a mud hut. I lived in a very nice home with bricks, cement. It was actually painted. We finished it with many trees in the backyard that were native to that land. It was beautiful. Then after that, I went to high school and I continued to do sports. And it was a wonderful thing to do because the majority around me was doing that. And so I felt accepted. But surprisingly, learning English wasn't the hardest thing when it came to being in this country. When I was 16 years old, when everyone is getting their driver's licenses, I was trying to come up with excuses so I wouldn't have to say that I didn't have the proper documentation to get my own license. I couldn't work like the rest of my classmates, so I focused on sports. And my mom and dad made sure that I didn't have to work or worry about anything, so I wouldn't have to work and have a criminal record. On June 15, 2012, a miracle happened. Under President Obama administration, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals was instated. And it's short for DACA. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. And at this point, I was about 17 years old. So now I could stop saying that I didn't get my license because I was afraid to drive. I could go and I could get this. And there's 11.4 million undocumented immigrants in 2012, and 2 million of those qualified for this program. So what does that say? What are the requirements to get DACA? It was you had to be at least 15 years old. You had to have no criminal record. You had to have a diploma of like a high school diploma or a equivalent of that. And so these are educated people, you would say. In high school, when this came out, I was so excited because I could finally feel like part of me could be here. This was my home. And I realized that I was wanted for once in my life. not by my parents, because obviously my parents love me, but by the environment around me. When I went and sat down at a scholarship meeting because I was an honor student, so all my counselors were like, you need to be there. You're going to get a scholarship. There are all these options for you. And I'm like, if only you knew. I went anyways, and I sat along my mom and dad. And the more people that went up to the stage that were rewarded scholarships, I realized that I was not going to get one. And at the very end, there was a private scholarship that my counselor had applied me for that I had no idea. It was $1,000, but I mean, it's something. And I no longer felt left out. That was a glimmer of hope that, you know what? There are willing people that want me here and that want me to succeed. And so I went off to college, and I had another opportunity, a scholarship opportunity, but guess what? I don't get the scholarships that you don't have to do anything for other than get good grades. I get the scholarships that you have to work consistently to keep those, and that's okay. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity because it has taught me that in this country, sacrifice is rewarded. And people love people, and they want to help, and they want to succeed. 800,000 youth, undocumented youth, benefited from DACA program. And they are all over the country getting their educations, getting jobs, getting careers. I am going to graduate with my bachelor's in May. And in September 15, 2017, that grind and that uphill battle of succeeding came to a halt when DACA was annulled by the Trump administration. All of a sudden, all of my hope, all of my fears came back, my anxiety came back of a semi-stable future. I no longer had that. But I was one of the lucky ones that did it just at the right time, where I could have 2 more years. I am so blessed, and I will not tell anyone else otherwise. Now I don't know what my future holds, but I continue to pursue an education. And more than anything, I do not talk about this to gain pity. I talk so my voice can be heard. And I talk so I can express to you that love and compassion and willingness to help can go a really long way. There's a lot of acceptance in the United States of America, and I'm lucky and I'm blessed and I'm very grateful to be here and for the opportunities that I have gained. I know that having 2 worlds combined is possible. First of all, because I married my husband, and we're constantly negotiating back and forth on what our world should look like. It's very much a challenge, and it's something that we are constantly conflicting with. But I can assure you that it's also something that we can all do. Combining 2 worlds is what makes immigrants so wonderful. This country is built on immigrants. It's something that we can all achieve. And I personally have done it by falling in love with someone that is from another country, this country. I am too. And we are creating this home that I hope in the future can be seen as something that is of progress instead of retraction.